Hey there everyone, welcome back to Lydia's Plate. In this video I want to show you how I make strawberry jam from the Certo box. So whether you're a pro at this or whether you're new and you just want step-by-step information on how to do it, that's what I want to try to provide for you today. So in that ice cream pail I have mashed up a whole bunch of strawberries. I've washed them, taken the little green leaves off the top, or hulled them, whatever you want to call it. Or is the technical term, I guess. And I've mashed them with a potato masher. Doing it in the ice cream pail worked super well because there's a nice flat bottom and straight sides, so it's not like in a bowl where it can come rushing up the sides and try to spill out. The ice cream pail just worked so much better. This was my first year trying that or even having that idea, and it worked great, so I definitely want to try to remember that for future years. So the recipe for this jam is right in any box of Certo that you buy. It comes with no cook versions and cook versions, or freezer versions and freezer versions or cook versions. And I don't know why I started doing it this way, but for whatever reason I cook it up and then I freeze it anyways. I was talking to somebody not that long ago and they said it actually does give a different flavor. And when I was reading the Certo box for instructions this year, it actually also says that the cooked version will stay good for 3 months longer than the no cook version. So I have not done any science or experiments or anything to find out just how true that actually is, but that's what the paper inside the Certo box says. So I have measured off the 4.5 cups of mashed strawberries that I needed. And now I'm just adding in a package of Certo powder. It's just a powdered pectin, and I'm just gonna sprinkle it in here, and then I'll get it mixed in and turn the oven element onto high heat. So these are what the instructions inside the box look like. I'm not going to add the recipe in the description box for this one because it's gonna come with any box of Certo that you buy. So in total, I think this took me about 15 to 20 minutes to make, maybe half an hour with mashing the fruit as well. That's not including the time that it took for me to pick it and wash the strawberries and hull them. That's once that's all done. To make the jam itself only took about 15 to 20 minutes. Now here, after showing you a close-up of the instructions, I forgot or didn't think of it that I needed to refocus my camera, so I am so sorry, but I'm just stirring in the pectin and then it's going to come to a boil and I'm going to dump in that whole bowl of sugar. I have tried other recipes before to get away with less sugar, and I haven't found anything yet that works as well and tastes as good that my family likes. If you have something that you know works great, thickens up, and still has that great strawberry jam flavor, I'd love to hear about it. I have found a strawberry glaze that I like to make that has way less sugar, but it doesn't quite take the place of strawberry jam. I have eaten it that way, but the rest of my family isn't quite as thrilled about that option. So there we go, now I've fixed my camera. And I'm just making sure to get in all the edges around the bottom of my pot to make sure that that sugar is all very well stirred in. And then I'm just gonna let this come to a boil. Another tip that I relearned this year, because it has been a few years since I made strawberry jam, the first batch that I made earlier today, I used a wooden spoon, and that was a big mistake. I had forgotten the necessity of using a metal utensil when making this jam. So with a wooden spoon, later on when this all starts to really boil, it comes all the way up the side of the pot and almost over, and with the wooden spoon it kept wanting to come over, and I had to keep lifting the pot up off the heat and then trying to reset my timer. But with with the metal spoon, that doesn't happen the same way. It still really rises, but I think I had about a quarter to half an inch of the top of my pot left, and it wasn't spilling out. So yeah, if you've never done this before, that would definitely be a tip that I would want to know if I was making jam for the first time. So most of this, for learning purposes, I'm going to try to keep it in real time, but some of it I will speed up, double speed, maybe triple speed, depending on how it looks. But for the most part, for learning purposes, I want you to be able to see exactly how this process goes. After adding the sugar, I would stir it and then walk away for about 2 minutes, and then I'd come back and it would start getting a little frothy and heating up and bubbling, and so I'd stir it and I'd walk away again. It took about 6 minutes for it to come to this point now. So the instructions say to bring it to a boil for 1 minute, and this is where, when I was using that wooden spoon, it just wanted to come right up and out of the pot, and with the metal spoon it doesn't. And now in this last minute, you're supposed to stir consistently. So there we go, the minute is over. And it's time to take it off the heat for 5 minutes and stir and skim. The first batch that I did, I was very particular. My husband was joking, he wanted like store perfect jam. So I skimmed a lot off the top of that first pot. This second pot now, I am not going to skim near as much. I'm actually going to be a little bit the other way and only skim what I feel is absolutely necessary. We don't mind a little bit of fruit chunks in our jam, so I'm not going to be near as particular to make sure that I get every last floating chunk of fruit out of here. I'm going to be a lot more liberal or relaxed with it. So you can see here how full my bowl is, and I'm barely going to add a little bit into there. That's how little I'm going to skim compared to the first batch that I did. That is totally up to your preference, how particular you want to be with the skimming. When I realized how much I had skimmed out of the first batch, I thought, no way. I want way more of this going into the freezer for eating throughout the year instead of having so much in this bowl sitting in the fridge now. So now at this point the timer is set for 5 minutes. I've skimmed off the majority of what I think is really important to skim off, and so I'm just going to stir it for the few remaining minutes just to see if I am actually fully happy with how much I've skimmed off. I don't quite have it all yet. It's still pretty frothy, so I'm going to get a little bit more, but I'm not going to keep skimming this time until there's no froth left. So the timer has gone up, my 5 minutes for skimming and stirring is done. So I'm going to let the jam that's in the pot cool off for a while because I am wanting to put this into plastic containers to go into the freezer. So I'm going to give it about an hour or 2 hours to cool off, and then I'll start putting it into my containers. So this is the first batch now that had cooled, and I'm going to get it all scooped up and divided up. But once I had the second batch done as well, I think all of these containers had been full. Kevin kept being silly and waving at the camera every time he walked past, but he was having so much fun. So, hi from Kevin. I do also want to make sure as I'm filling these containers to leave space for expansion in the freezer. And once I had them all filled, I let them sit all the way till the next day, and then we put the lids on and took them to the freezer. I wanted to make sure that they were well set before I started carrying and moving them around too much. And definitely the second batch filled up more containers than the first batch because I didn't skim near as much out of the second batch. So that's it. That's how easy strawberry jam is, at least if you are going to follow the sourdough recipe. Other recipes, I don't know. I know I've also made a homemade apple jelly that is like completely sourdough free, and so it uses way less sugar, and it's actually made from the cores and peelings from the apple. So I love that that is made from like the stuff that would normally be tossed out and useless. So I just think it's so great that I get to use up the entire apple, and then those cores and peelings still go out to the animals yet, and they enjoy them, like the pigs and the chickens. So that one does not use sourdough, and it has to be cooked way longer because it's a natural thickening process, whereas with using the sourdough here, it takes a lot less time. Anyways, so I hope you've liked this video. I hope it's been helpful to you in some way, and I look forward to bringing you the next one. Thank you so much for watching, and see you next time. Bye!